Eventually it happened and they got to relax. I'm right here on the end, so I'm still nervous. Yeah, it was also an opportunity for me to listen to all of the shares before this, all the steps. I went to some of the special interest meetings, some of the local meetings hosted by our groups in Cape Town. And I can tell you, my convention experience has been amazing. It is not what I expected when I came here. And I guess later you will hear about how my expectations cause me problems sometimes. So, yeah, like people were telling me, oh, I see you sharing last share of the convention, power share, and all of that stuff. And I'm saying, yeah, thank you guys for adding some more pressure to the situation. I really appreciate it. And I got a chance to think about that, power share. What the hell is that? And I realized that I'm the guy with no power. The power is with you guys. The power is with my higher power. And I've asked you guys to help me. I've asked my higher power to help me. So here we go, guys. I got a little hint from another member who shared yesterday. And he told me that once he was standing up here, he could feel the power from the room. And I can tell you, guys, that is not a lie. You guys are great, man. This has been a convention for me of laughing, crying, connecting, having fun. It's been amazing, I'm normally not a very an emotional person, but the tears were really coming this convention, And I just want to thank you guys for that, For me, tears are a very cleansing experience, and I feel clean, Not just clean from using drugs. I'm clean. I feel clean spiritually. Okay, so step 12. Before I go into it, more and more I'm starting to realize that these steps aren't separate, and that they kind of flow into each other. And at times it's very nice to break down certain things into little pieces, break down the spiritual awakening, the carrying the message, the practicing principle in all of the fairs. But sometimes, as I've been realizing, it's good to put everything back together and just to look where my process has taken me, And inevitably, I have to look back at step 1 and realize that I'm the powerless addict. I needed help desperately, I've got this disease of addiction, which even while be clean, as Shelton nicely explained, even while I'm clean, I can still suffer, He was talking about drugs being my solution, and having the living problem. And that has been my experience, because in recovery, being clean, I've had living problems. And that had nothing to do with drugs, And so for me, basically I need a power, because on my own, how do I do this life thing? It's impossible for me to do this life thing on my own. I need help from you guys. I need help from my higher power. And the rest of the steps take me through that process in various ways, which hopefully you guys have picked up some of that over this weekend and have had your own experiences with the steps. Or if you're a newcomer, that this experience this weekend will encourage you to walk that journey. So yeah, and at the end of all that, somehow I've got this experience where I've lost the desire to use. I don't think about using anymore. I'm clean. And apparently I found a new way to live, which is a hell of a lot better than my previous way of life. I mean, the previous way of life was kind of just at the animal level, survival stuff, Any ways that I could hide my fears, insecurities, I would do that, whether it was with drugs, with my behaviors or whatever, And that's what I did. So I guess the first part of the step 12 talks about having had a spiritual awakening, and I didn't know what spirituality was. I thought I did. Before, I think it might have even been before I started using. I had taken an interest in spiritual like ideas and concepts and literature and that sort of thing. And in hindsight, I did that because I thought this was a way to escape life. To somehow be bulletproof against my fears and insecurities and like the way I felt different to everybody else. I pictured myself like a hermit, isolating himself on the top of a mountain, and no one would bother me. Eventually I found something that worked better, and that was the drugs and alcohol. But I always had the spiritual interest, and that definitely sold me when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, and they told me it was a spiritual program. I really didn't want to buy into any sort of other means, psychiatric help and that sort of thing. I'm not knocking that stuff, guys. If that helps you, it's great, but it just wasn't for me. I'm the guy who thinks he knows better than the doctors and the professionals out there. The only thing I was willing to entertain was that there was a higher power out there that could help me. I didn't really believe in human powers being able to help me because I knew better. So because of that pre-existing spiritual knowledge or information that I had in my head, I came into these rooms with an expectation that I knew what the spiritual awakening thing would be like before I had even worked the steps. And once I came, I got through the steps. I'd realized how wrong I had been. It was totally different. I was still facing life on life's terms. I was still having challenges. Life on life's terms happened. Today I've discovered that I don't get to dictate life on life's terms. I don't spin the world just right to suit me. I go with the spin of the world. Through the help of my higher power. And I realized that what I had done in the past was just ideas. There was absolutely zero action. And this is all about a program of action. I had no consistency in my life before. I had no sort of discipline, perseverance. When things went wrong, I just went the other way, or went to my best friend, the drugs. And recovery is not like that for me today, Today, my awakened spirit means that I can face life on life's terms, I am not isolated in my experiences anymore, I don't, like in my addiction, the place that it took me on the inside, was one of hostility. I wasn't very outwardly hostile, but I had this, everybody's out there to kind of get me attitude. And I was mistrustful. I couldn't receive love. I couldn't give love. I didn't know. I thought I knew what those words meant. I didn't have a clue, And today I know a little bit about that. Today I know that God and my understanding is caring for me. That I have a connection to others today, to my family, you guys in the rooms, my sponsor, my sponsees. And I'm grateful for that. That is a life beyond my wildest dreams. I don't know what's happened to me this weekend. A lot of you guys know me. You don't know me as like a very emotional person at all. But God's doing His thing today. Fuck, man. It's And like obsessing about preparing to share, I want to wow you guys and all of that stuff. I don't prepare for this stuff today. There's no preparation. That's why I'm saying the power is coming from you guys, from a higher power. I didn't have power to do this stuff, man. You know. Yeah, so that my spirit is awake, and that solved my problem, my drug problem as well. I can face, I can face life on life's terms. I can engage with the people out there. Like today, I don't have a desire to harm anybody, on the face of this planet. Yeah, and I have harmed people before, especially loved ones, in various ways. And yeah, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't know. This disease of addiction, Felton was talking about life knocked me this way and that way. I don't know why I became an addict, but I did. If I look at my life circumstances, I got nothing to blame for becoming an addict, but I turned out an addict anyway. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, eh? Guess I built up the wrong sort of walls, and that kept me isolated, kept me sinking, all the way. And I do believe today it's my higher power that intervened and brought me to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Right from the start, I felt at home. I found identification with other addicts, and that was a revelation to me. That for the first time in my life, I was not alone, and that was big for me. And when I mean alone, I'm not talking about having people around me. I mean like people to identify with, because on my last, before I eventually hit my rock bottom and decided to ask for help, I had people around me. I was working. I'm actually still in the very same job today. I had my loved ones around me. There were people in my life, but through my behaviors and the way I had chosen to face life, I had isolated myself and I felt alone. Once I came to my first meeting, people were talking about the same feelings, the same details. Well, not so much the details, but the feelings and the place that drugs brought me. That was the same, and I'd realized that I was not alone. And I decided to give this program a shot, and it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah, I really want to say thank you to everybody that came before me, because you guys gave me the message of recovery freely, That was another thing, I had like these issues with all these sharers that came before me. How many people said things that I had planned to say, And then I realized that, hey, I'm not the owner of this stuff. I was given it freely. I just need to give it away again, It's not my stuff, Yeah, and so I really want to say thank you, in acknowledgement of that to the guys who came before me and helped me, And I also want to say thank you to the guys who came or coming behind me, that give me an opportunity to be of service, And it's made me realize that step 12 is not just like a nice idea, man. After I've been through all the rest of the steps, life's getting better, I'm feeling a bit better about myself. Step 12 is not a favor that I do for the newcomer or for other people that I want to help. It's a step that helps me, it's for me. And in that way, I still view the program as selfish, even though I'm doing, through work in the program, I'm doing selfless things, all of this stuff helps me. Otherwise, why would I be here, So yeah, like I've carried the message. I mean, there's this, as the diversity that we have as addicts, different backgrounds, ethnicity, that sort of thing, languages that we speak. It's so diverse, Addiction doesn't discriminate. So So there are so many varieties of carrying the message as well, you know. And I'll just talk about some of the ways that I've had an opportunity to carry the message, you know. The first one is basically hospitals and institutions. I read up a little bit about NA history, and I realized that NA was started like in the early 50s. And there was some growth in the beginning, you know, sort of a lag phase. And the first HNI subcommittee, if I'm getting that right, started off in like the early 60s. And phone line also was formed at that time. You know, I remember at that time, the telephone was basically one of the only ways of communication, not like today, you know, with internet access and all of that. So, and then I read like after that, the fellowship flourished, you know. People were going out there, bringing addicts to the meetings, or at least telling them there was a place that they could go for their recovery. And I've had an opportunity to be part of that subcommittee for a little while. I'm not currently part of the subcommittee. And that type of service taught me a lot about myself, a lot about other people, especially not to judge people sitting in a crowd and, you know, they're looking at you. And I'm trying to think what they're thinking. You know, that was just a stuff up, you know. And HNI taught me just drop this stuff, you know, because I'd come in the meeting with one opinion and I'd leave the meeting with a totally another opinion, you know. And that was an important experience for me. It's also an amazing feeling to see someone you've maybe seen at a treatment center and actually get them at a meeting, you know, feel a real sense of gratitude. You know, if you have some free time or, you know, want to give back in some way in recovery, it's definitely a subcommittee to try. At the moment, most of my service efforts go into sponsorship. I classify sponsorship as a service effort, and so giving back, you know. Yeah, my sponsors are really dear to me. My sponsors dear to me, you know. I often get into this attitude where I've been in recovery for a bit. I know how this program works and stuff. And my sponsor always slaps me with a perspective I didn't see at all, you know. And I'm grateful for that, you know. Today I don't actually want to rely on myself anymore, you know. Because when I depend on others, you know, and ask for their help, the result is usually much better than on my own reliance, you know. So that's my preferred way of dealing with issues these days. Okay. So yeah, and then the other one is my home group. I do home group service. Home group is awesome, you know. It's like a home. I put my roots down there, so come hell or high water, whatever storms, you know. Yeah, it's my home group, you know. I mean, people today at my home group, you know, we've like had fights before, you know. And today I like could confide like in those same members, people as I like at my home 2 or 3 times a week, you know. So that's when I really started to learn that my personal recovery depends on the unity, and for unity, my attitude needed to change, you know. Yeah, so that's a good way that I do service. Then, yeah, practicing these principles in all our affairs. Yeah, easy to practice at the meetings. Home was a big challenge for me, you know. Like physical abuse was an issue with my wife. We're both addicts. We're both in recovery. By some miracle, we both celebrate our clean date on the 1st of September 2008. And that's not by any of our doings. It's just, I guess, God's coincidence, you know. And I'm grateful for that as well. A lot of hard work that I had to put in there, you know, practicing principles in all my affairs, you know. I mean, something that I used to get stuck on all the time was practicing her program, you know, telling her how she should work the steps or phone a sponsor and stuff like that. And of course it didn't work, you know, me being as powerless over her addiction as I am over my own, you know. So, yeah. I also had like a bit of an altercation here at this convention, you know. But I think I got to resolve it, you know. And it was again me, expectations causing problems, expecting that everything would be perfect here at this convention, you know. And my expectation was getting in the way. Life on life terms happens, you know. and I got to practice these principles right here desperately. That's why you guys see me in like a half emotional state at times. I desperately had to practice the program over this weekend, you know. I had to speak to other addicts, home group members. I spoke to my sponsor, got perspective, prayed, meditated, all of those things, you know. So yeah, you know, I don't think I can wow you with my words on this topic anymore, you know. I've just had like opportunities to practice this program, and hopefully that can be an example to you guys, you know, or you guys get something out of it, you know. It's difficult, you know. Practicing this program is not always easy in all situations, you know. We had an amazing men's meeting over there, you know. Like, I didn't get the chance to share because people like really in a hurry to, like, you know, as you're saying thanks, another guy like jumps in. It was crazy. And yeah, you know, what really came up for me there was, you know, like the way men are treating women in the fellowship, you know. And yeah, I really wanna ask the ladies, you know, do you agree with that statement? You know, do we need some improvement? Okay. What about the men? Do you think we need some improvement? You know? So maybe we can start practicing these principles in all our affairs. Yeah. Yeah. That's been a really hot one in Cape Town at the moment. So yeah, I just had to drop that in there. But yeah, lastly, to just end off, I just want to express my gratitude once again for, you know, for me discovering the person that I am today, you know. I couldn't have done it without you guys. And yeah, man, like to the newcomer, if you haven't experienced the miracle yet, you know, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle. Just keep coming back, you know, put in the effort, and your life will change for the better, you know. For maybe the older members who are not giving back as much, you know, the miracle keeps unfolding, you know, and it's in the giving back that it keeps unfolding, you know. Thank you. My name is Llewellyn. Thanks for letting me share.